Welcome to another Rolled in Reacts episode. Customer states, was racing a friend of mine when I heard a loud pop and then the car stopped. This customer came in for an alignment after they said that the car wobbles a bit at higher speeds. And this customer fixed a leaking tire by themselves, but had to come into the shop to get a new tire 4 days after this was filmed. The owner of this car had changed his oil regularly, but hadn't changed the oil filter in 80,000 miles. Customer states, truck runs a bit rough and has started to overheat. Please advise. This customer came in for a steering wheel vibration after his friend had helped him balance the wheels for free. This Nissan Sentra came in because it had started to run uneven at idle and the engine light was on. Turns out that the customer had installed a new light bar and done the wiring work, all by himself. And this customer had hit a pothole and heard a loud noise, but kept driving until they heard an even louder noise and had to come in on a tow truck. This car came in with some pretty interesting lug nuts. The owner of this Sierra pickup came in saying, I've been getting this occasional clunking sound coming from the back for a couple months now. Could you check it out? And this customer said that oil changes are a myth invented by oil companies, but he still had to come in because his truck had started running sluggish and the check engine light was on. This customer came in saying that they have to pump their tires multiple times a week and wanted it looked at. The owner of this Honda Pilot came in saying that they have been getting this strange thumping sound whenever they go over speed bumps or pull into their driveway. And this guy had his own version of an underglow kit. Customer states, hit a pothole last week and ever since, the cab has gotten noisier. This customer had done their very first oil and filter change but had to come in because of an oil leak after they had missed to remove the plastic cover on the oil filter. The owner of this car hit a piece of wood on the highway and just about made it into the shop before the wheel fell off. And this customer came in saying that they had fixed their brakes at another shop 2 weeks ago, but that the brakes hadn't felt firm ever since. And this car came in for some new blinker fluid. Customer came in saying that they brushed against some stones while driving on an unmarked road, and ever since the car has been louder than normal. Customer states, car idles and accelerates poorly and my gas mileage is horrible, please advise. And this car rolled in because of a clunking noise coming from the back. The owner of this car had installed some new brake pads by himself, but had to come in because he now has a terrible squeak. This car rolled in after the customer said that it had started to handle poorly ever since they hit a pothole. This customer came in for some suspension work, but didn't say anything about how the car looked underneath. This truck came in for an inspection after the customer had some rattling sounds while driving, and this is what the technician found. Customer states, wheels need to be balanced. Please check and advise. And this customer came in saying, hit a squirrel on my way to work and now my wheel makes a weird sound. This Hyundai Accent rolled in because it had started to overheat after it had been parked in a sketchy neighborhood for a couple of days. The owner of this car had just installed some new tires at another shop, but nobody told him that he had bigger problems than that. This car came in on a tow truck and the customer said, someone stole my battery, I need a new one. Turned out that the battery was just hiding from the customer and simply needed to be recharged. The owner of this Honda came in for an oil change when the mechanic noticed the condition of the tires. When told about it, the customer insisted on only getting the oil change. Customer states, hit a larger hole in the road and then I couldn't steer anymore. This customer wanted to top up their washer fluid but had mistakenly poured it into the coolant system and this is what that ended up looking like. Fortunately, the customer came in as soon as he realized this, so there was no damage done to the engine. Customer states, floored it at a traffic light, but the car didn't shift into second gear and just kept revving until I heard a loud bang and then the engine stopped. This car came in for some new shocks. And the owner of this car had installed their very own battery charger, but had to come in on a tow truck because the car wouldn't start. This customer rolled in saying, "There's this screeching sound when driving at higher speeds. Please advise." The mechanic found that the rotor and caliper had almost fused themselves together. And this GMC Sierra rolled in with a handful of different problems after it had been parked on the sidewalk for a few weeks. The owner of this car came in with steering issues after their brother had tried doing some work on it, but ended up causing more trouble than good. This customer came in complaining about a small but strange noise at higher speeds and wanted it looked at. This Mercedes came in because it had started sounding like this when firing it up. Sparky. This car came in with starting issues and quite the leak. Turned out that the car's battery had some suspicious holes in it, which caused a leak so strong it had started to corrode parts of the transpan. This customer had lent their car to their grandson but got it back with quite the clunking noises when turning and pulling into the driveway. And this car had taken some swimming lessons together with the owner. And this customer got a new hitch installed right on time. Customer came in saying that they do all their own work and that their car runs so smooth you can't even hear the engine from inside the driver's cab. Customer states, replaced water pump at a different shop, but ever since car has started to overheat. Please advise. And this customer came in saying that the AC only works on one side but not the other. And the owner of this car had their friend help them install some used calipers, but had to come in to get new ones because they only lasted about 2 weeks. This customer's Ford F-150 came in because the air condition wasn't blowing cold anymore. Turned out that the compressor was totally seized, which had also caused the AC belts to snap. But after installing a new compressor and some belts, the AC worked fine again. And this car came in with quite the list of problems. The customer ended up having to get a completely new engine and drivetrain. Customer states, I do all my own oil changes, but after the last one, the car's been acting kind of funny. Turned out that the engine was overfilled by 13 quarts of oil. Yeah, looks great. This truck had some brake work done by the owner's uncle, but it had to come in because the brake pedal now goes to the floor and the truck is hard to stop. The owner of this car had just bought it at an auction, but hit a curb on his way home and had to come in to have it looked at. Yummy. Customer states, did an alignment at a different shop, but now something's off. This groundhog apparently wanted to make this customer's car its own. Thankfully, it ended up being fine and was released into a nearby forest right after this was filmed. The owner of this car had done their own oil change, but had to come in because of an oil leak after they had tightened the drain plug so hard that it caused the oil pan to crack. This customer came in saying that every time they turn the AC on, it smells like a retirement home and it also doesn't get very cold. This car came in after the owner had hit a light post when driving home from work. Turns out that he had been to the shop a week prior and was told that he needed to install new brake pads, which he then refused. Customer states, dipstick handle broke off and fixed it with some hot glue, but now dipstick is stuck. Please advise. And apparently, someone had accidentally dropped a socket wrench inside this engine while working on it. This SUV came in after the owner had been doing some off-roading and was on his way home on the highway when he suddenly heard a loud bang. Turns out that the drive shaft had broken off and got swung up into the undercarriage and severely damaged the transmission. This customer came in saying that whenever they step on the gas, they get a strange thudding sound and the steering wheel wiggles. Customerstates recently had car in for an oil change at a quick lube shop, but have a ticking sound ever since. Please check and advise. And the owner of this vehicle had replaced the spark plugs by himself, but now his car has a misfire and barely idles. Looks like he must have missed something. Customer came in complaining about poor braking power ever since their younger brother had done some brake work on it 2 months ago. If it ain't falling off, don't fix it. This car came in for an oil change, but the mechanics refused because the car was occupied. And this car came in with a bit of a leak after the customer had jacked it up in his very own way to do some brake work. This Ford F-150 came in after the owner complained about a ticking sound that apparently gets increasingly louder as you accelerate. Customer states, car handles like a boat full of potatoes. The owner of this truck rolled in saying that they've been getting a thumping noise when going over speed bumps. Turned out that the bed was only held on with a single loose screw. And this car came in on a tow truck after the owner heard a loud boink sound when he was going to pass another car on the highway. This car managed to roll in on its own after the customer had driven over a metal beam at 80 miles an hour. Customer states, wife hit a curb going a bit faster than normal. This customer came in saying they need a new center console storage cubby because the one they have won't close. The owner of this car had driven through a river at high tide and successfully hydrolocked his engine. And this customer had done some work on their cooling system by themselves, but had to come in because the car had started to overheat. Apparently, the customer had connected the crankcase vent hose right to the radiator instead of to the coolant tank. Customer came in complaining about their forklift feeling unstable when lifting things off the shelves. And this guy wanted some larger rims on his truck, so he installed some spacers by himself, but he had to come in 3 days later because of a wobbly steering wheel. Customer states, seat feels uncomfortable during longer drives. Please advise. And the owner of this car had installed new shocks at another shop 2 months ago, but had to come in because he had started getting a rattling sound at higher speeds. The mechanic thankfully caught this one on time and spared the customer a giant headache. This customer rolled in saying, car's been running rough lately, but I do all my own oil changes, and I do them on time, so I'm not sure what it could be. This car came in because of a clunking noise. And this customer's truck got towed in because one of the front wheel bearings had failed after the owner and his friend had installed a used one to save some cash. And the owner of this car had fixed their brakes all by themselves. Customer states, starting issues. The owner of this car had done an oil change at a different shop, but had to come in because they've had a burnt smell ever since. Looks like the other shop did the oil change extra fast. And this truck came in after the wheel almost fell off while the customer was driving to work. This customer came in saying that their semi-truck's wipers don't work as they should after they had installed a light bar, all by themselves. This customer had changed their air filter at another shop, but they had accidentally dropped a nut in the airbox that made its way into the engine. And this car came in because it had started to feel sluggish, said the owner. The owner of this car had installed a new AC compressor all by himself, using a tie-down strap. This car apparently makes its very own caramel drizzle. And this car had some brake work done by a mysterious mechanic that some call the siliconator. The owner of this truck came in complaining about a clunking sound when driving at highway speeds. This customer wanted to top off their washer fluid, but had somehow mixed up the oil cap and washer fluid cap and ended up topping their engine off with washer fluid instead. And if your oil comes out looking like this, you're probably in some expensive trouble. And this customer rolled in with their pretty much brand new Audi sounding like this. Yep, looks perfectly fine. This mechanic was going to lift this truck up when he discovered something a bit strange. This customer came in saying, "Last time I checked, I didn't have a diesel, please advise." And this car came in after the customer complained about feeling every bump in the road. This Cadillac SRX came in with some starting issues after the customer's brother had tried installing a new battery for them. And the owner of this car had installed some new extra lights, all by themselves, but had to come in because the car wouldn't start anymore. Customer states, wobbly steering wheel when driving on the highway. And this Ford Escape rolled in because it was missing a few parts. This customer had let their son borrow their car to go on a weekend trip with his friends, but came in because now the car wouldn't start for some unknown reason. Customer states, "There's a funky smell inside the driver's cab. Could possibly be the AC filter. Please check and advise." The owner of this car had trouble rolling down the windows after their friend had installed some new speakers for them. And this car came in with a bit of an identity crisis. This truck apparently had its own little private club inside the glove box. Customer came in saying, "Heard this loud metallic noise and then the car felt a bit different. Could you make sure it's nothing serious?" And this Audi engine came in with quite the list of problems. This customer had done some work on their brake calipers, but couldn't figure out why their brake pedal now feels like a marshmallow. Customer states, "Car runs rough at idle, please advise." And the owner of this car rolled in saying that their car has started to sound like a chainsaw. Turned out to be a bad power steering pump. This customer was in at this shop 2 weeks prior and got a price quote for some brake work, which they thought was too expensive, so they did the work themselves, but they ended up having to come back because they now have a bad vibration when braking. Choo choo! Looks great. Customer states, "Every time I turn on the turn signals, my dash does this." This car came in to get a new head gasket, and this is how the old one looked like. And this customer came in saying that their car floods anytime it rains, even just a little bit. A little cleaning of the drains and the issue was fixed. The owner of this car had just bought it at an auction and was driving it home when they started hearing a hissing sound. Turned out that the previous owner had kept a pet snake that was hiding behind the dash. Luckily, the snake was just fine and made its way back to its owner. This truck came in for a post-purchase inspection after the owner had paid over $10,000 for it. Customer states, "Wife borrowed the car and said she hit some road debris on the freeway." This customer came in saying that their engine runs a little hot. And the owner of this car came in complaining about their steering feeling too relaxed. This fairly new truck came in for a wheel alignment when the mechanic discovered this. This customer had installed some new wheels and spacers, all by himself, but had to come in because now his steering wheel is wobbling hella bad. Customer came in complaining about a ringing sound when driving over speed bumps. This guy came in with his car asking for some new brake pads and that the mechanic would spare him any BS about his calipers and rotors looking like this or like that, because he's heard it all before. And this customer said that they have started getting a funky smell in the cab, and anytime they go on longer trips they get a runny nose and their eyes start itching. The owner of this car came in saying that they've started getting a weird sound from it during idle. Turns out that the customer came in right on time because they had a bad timing tensioner that was just about to fail completely. This customer came in with their Honda Civic because of poor braking power after their grandson had installed new calipers on it in a pretty creative way. Customer states, was driving home from work when I heard this loud bang and then something came flying out the hood. This car rolled in like this after the owner said it had started to handle a bit higgledy-wiggledy. And this Lotus Elise came in for some engine repairs because it had a pretty loud knock after the customer had done an oil and filter change by themselves. Apparently, they had installed the oil filter with the plastic wrapping still on, which had caused the oil pump to fail and the engine to run out of oil. The owner of this car came in saying that he thinks his car has started burning oil because he's been getting a strong oil smell when driving ever since he topped up the oil at a local gas station. This customer came in and said, I think my car is octane intolerant because it's been sounding like this for a while now. Customer states, hit a chipmunk on my way to the grocery store. Please check and advise. This car rolled in after the owner said it had started to sound louder than normal lately, and this is what the mechanic found. This almost brand new truck only had 67 miles on it, but had to come in because it already tells knock-knock jokes. And the owner of this Subaru came in saying that it had started to handle like a boat full of watermelons after their friend had done some frame and suspension work for them. The owner of this car came in because they had a screech and grinding sound at lower speeds after they had some brake work done at a different garage. Turns out that they had only installed the calipers with a single bolt and the wheel nuts were finger tight. This car came in with quite the leak. Customer states, I can't tell how fast I'm driving, please advise. And this customer came in with his truck for an oil change and said that he takes great care of his truck and always keeps it parked in a heated garage. This car rolled in like this after the owner said his wife had hit a rock while driving on a countryside road. The owner of this vehicle came in saying, steering has felt really heavy lately and sometimes the cab smells like burnt dog poop, please advise. Turns out that the customer had hit a wig on the road that had gotten stuck behind the wheel. Customer states, fixed the transmission myself last weekend, but now it sounds a bit noisy. This car last had an oil change at the factory where it was built and had to come in because the stock oil filter had literally started to fall apart, causing the engine light to turn on. This customer had built his own Porsche kit car but had to come in because it had some brake issues and quite the list of other things wrong with it. Customer states, had my car parked on the street for a few days, but now it pulls to one side when braking. And this guy had replaced his own head gasket using a YouTube tutorial, but had to come in 2 weeks later because the car felt sluggish and the engine temperature was higher than normal. This Mercedes turbo diesel came in because the owner said that he had started getting a burnt smell when driving longer distances, and this is what the mechanic found once he had the car on the lift. Turned out to be some pretty worn out fuel injector washers. This customer came in saying that he thinks Mickey Mouse might be stuck inside his wheel. And the owner of this truck had a midlife crisis on a budget. This car rolled in because it needed a new water pump, but the customer didn't mention that the last person to replace their timing belt was George Washington. And this customer came in with some brake issues after they had taken it slow while driving down a mountain. This car was in for an alignment when the mechanic started hearing a meowing sound from underneath the car. The cat was alive and well and ended up finding its way back home. This customer was apparently in the shop a week prior for an exhaust leak, but declined all repairs, saying that her brother is so good with cars that he will fix it. But they still had to come in to get a new exhaust installed. This guy came in with his car to get the wheels balanced, but when the mechanic told him he should probably get some new tires instead, he politely replied, "Thanks, but I only drive it when it's sunny out." Customer states, "Hit a small hole in the road and now I have a growling noise when driving." This customer rolled in saying that they have a strange loud sound during idle and wanted to know what it was. If you have any idea what it might be, let us know in the comments below. Customer states, "Yeah, I do my own oil changes every 13 months or so. Why do you ask?" This sedan came in because it needed some electrical work, but the mechanics kindly declined all repairs. And this guy had gotten stuck in some mud with his car and floored it until he got onto pavement, but then heard a loud clunk. The owner of this Volkswagen Golf came in saying, "Car feels a bit jerky at idle, but once on the highway it goes away." This customer's Mini Cooper had an oil change at a quick lube shop, but 2 days later it couldn't start. Turned out that the other shop had broken the dipstick and it had somehow managed to dislodge the timing chain, which caused some major engine damage. Thankfully, the customer's insurance covered the cost for a new engine. This wheel was holding on for dear life after the customer had hit a curb going a bit faster than usual. And this customer came in complaining about a vibration and heavy steering wheel after they had done an alignment and tire rotation at a different shop the weekend before. The owner of this car had installed his very own homemade exhaust, but had to come in because the car didn't accelerate very well. Uh-oh. Customer came in saying that they can't remember last time they had an oil change, but it wasn't that long ago. Time flies, I guess. Customer states, starting issues. And this car had a pretty bad grinding noise when driving after the customer had installed used wheel bearings instead of new ones to save some cash. This fleet truck had been to another shop for a tire rotation, but had to come in again after the driver said the steering wheel had started to shake while doing 90 on the highway. Very cozy. The owner of this car hadn't had their brakes checked since buying it new 8 years ago and finally had to come in because they almost didn't have any brakes left. This Chevy Equinox rolled in like this because the oil light and engine light was on after the customer hit a piece of a broken concrete statue that had fallen out of a trailer on the highway. And this customer came in saying, "I think I might have actually gone too fast." This vehicle came in after the owner had a horrible grinding sound when braking that gradually had become worse the past 6 months. Customer states, "But a little engine noise is normal, right?" This Kenworth semi-truck rolled in after the driver said it had gotten really heavy to steer. Turns out that someone had topped up the power steering fluid with sunflower oil. This car came in with a bit of an oil leak. Luckily, the customer came in on time to get it fixed. This customer came in complaining about their car not wanting to start sometimes and wanted it looked at. I wonder what might be the cause. And the owner of this car said that their uncle had just helped them install new CV axles, but that they now have a strange rattling sound when driving. And this guy had just gotten a great deal for this car at a local dealership, but came into the shop a week later because the car had started running a bit rough, and this is what the mechanics discovered. Turned out that the car hadn't had an oil change in 75,000 miles. Customer states, a friend of a friend installed a new oil pan gasket, but car now leaks more oil than it did before. Please check and advise. This customer came in saying, the AC doesn't really work, and whenever I turn it on, it sounds like a jackhammer. And this car came in for an oil change when the mechanic discovered that the wheels were barely broken in. This truck came in for an exhaust leak after the customer had DIY'd their own exhaust system. And this ATV came in with a few problems. This customer came in saying, had to step on the brakes real hard to not hit a squirrel, but afterwards the brakes felt a bit tight. I'd have to agree. The owner of this Audi A3 came in saying that their transmission has started to make strange sounds and sometimes wouldn't go into gear after they had modified it at another shop 10 days ago. And this pickup truck owner had installed some new extra lights all by himself. This customer came in saying, drove past a sawmill the other day on the highway and it felt like I hit something, but I didn't expect this. Customer came in saying that their buddy had trimmed their car about a month ago, but now it had started to run real rough during idle and had troubles firing up. And the owner of this car had installed a new touchscreen radio in a pretty creative way. And this customer came in saying that their truck had started handling like a nun carrying a fridge full of watermelons down a couple stairs. This car came in because the owner said that every time they turn the AC on, the car sounds like it's full of pebbles. The owner of this pickup truck was towing a giant metal garden gnome and decided to pass a car on the freeway when he suddenly heard a loud bang. And when your brakes look like this, you could probably make bacon and eggs on them. Customer states, yeah, I had a clunking noise for a while, but I had a beer and fixed it myself. And this customer had done some framework on their Toyota 4Runner together with a friend, but had to come in because they said that it now feels like the body will slide off the chassis whenever they make sharp turns. Customer states, car sounds like a Lamborghini tractor that is. The owner of this car had done an oil and filter change by himself, but came in complaining about the car now feeling sluggish when accelerating. This car came in for an oil change, but when the mechanics saw the interior, they were the ones to decline all repairs. And this customer came in saying, car has started sounding like a frisky cat in the spring, please advise. Turns out that the issue was caused by a transmission that had seen better days. Customer states, did some suspension work together with my brother, but now car clunks hella bad. And this mechanic just wanted to switch this Chrysler's dashboard. A fine example of the mutual love felt between car engineers and mechanics. The owner of this car said they had a slight thumping sound when going over bumps. And this customer had fixed a rattling noise all by themselves using some silicone, but had to come in because the noise had gotten even louder. And the owner of this truck didn't think his AC was cool enough, so he installed another one by himself. This car rolled in with tires looking like this. Thankfully, the customer agreed to having new ones installed. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and until next time.